friends, welcome back to the channel Heal Lift Rise. My name is Carla. Thank you all so very much for joining me here. Truly appreciate every single one of you. All of your love, your support, and kindness to the channel. Thank you all so much for being a part of this wonderful, amazing, awesome tribe that we are building. I'm really grateful for you being on this journey with me, and I'm honored to be a part of your journey. Honored to help in any way that I can help. I wanted to share a message that came through recently. It was very funny, and I think you might find it a little funny as well. Had this thought, this message that came through of, do you remember the game Simon Says? So I used to play this game, Simon Says, back in school when I was growing up. So back in the 90s, and I don't know if this game was created in the 90s. I don't know when it was created, okay? I have no idea. But I used to play this game. This was something we played in school. And then, of course, we ended up, as kids, we play with our friends and whatnot. So there's somebody that is Simon and, stands in front of a group of kids, people, and says, Simon says, touch your nose. And so you touch your nose. Simon says, jump up and down. And so you jump up and down. And then the person is supposed to say, do a cartwheel or, do something crazy. And then everyone is supposed to be mindful that they're not supposed to do it if Simon didn't say. But if somebody does it, then they get called out. They, I think, are out of the game or whatever, or they lose, something along those lines, because Simon didn't say to do it. This made me laugh because this message came through of, we have that, kind of in our life. We've been conditioned to, even by our caretakers and by society. Well, society says, don't do this, or it's not beautiful. Simon says, blah, blah, blah. It's like the same thing, right? So it's like society has kind of told us not to dress a certain way, or not to look a certain way, or not to be a certain way, because then it's not good. And this is also sadly in the spiritual community too, where, if you don't do certain things because that's not good, you don't do this, you don't do that. And this is also highly tied into the way we grew up as, adolescents, and our parents or caregivers, hey, don't do this. I didn't say you could do this. I didn't say this, and don't this, don't this, don't this. And, our life becomes so structurized, with a lot of rules. And while we may have needed those rules at a time and place in our lives, as we get older, we tend to stay confined within a box because we are comfortable in that box, or we believe that we can't leave this box. Our lives become kind of imprisoned by a comfort zone, so to speak, and we never dare to leave this comfort zone for fear of the unknown, for fear of the what ifs, for fear of judgment, and truly that's all that stands in our way is fear. And it's our own choice where we get to make, to decide, to face fear, to go beyond what we were told is never okay, not acceptable. And I mean this as far as things that seem okay to us, that seem, hey, this is not a bad thing to try out. Maybe we were always told that, growing up, that family had to always, be together, and, you couldn't really venture outside of being away from your family. And then you decide one day, I want to just move. I want to travel. I want to move across the country. I want to go live in this state. I want to go live in this country. I want to go do this. You start to teeter on the edge of wondering if what you're doing is a good decision based upon what you were conditioned to believe, what, you were told. And like I said, this kind of ties in also plays a part in what society says. Society says, don't do this. Society says, this isn't good. Society says, you know, to look beautiful, you have to, you know, be this size or look this way or blah, 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 you know, which is, you know, all really garbage, because we say, this is our life, and we get to say what the standard is. We get to say what the trend is. I'm not one of those that follows trends. Particularly, I don't like to follow trends. I've always liked to do my own thing, wear what I want to wear, look how I want to look, and I really never cared what other people had to say about it. And, you know, I just always wanted to be different and be more me, of what felt good. I always followed feelings. And if it didn't feel good to me, then I wasn't going to wear it. I wasn't going to partake in it. It just, no, absolute no. And I've noticed, especially around this time of my life, I have really always followed feeling rather than my thoughts. And I've started to realize that that is intuition. Our feelings are intuition. And, you know, the more we can follow what feels good, more cases than not, I feel like we're going in the right direction when we follow our feeling and how it actually feels, how it makes us feel, how something might make others feel. When we follow feeling, that is more important, I feel like, than running off thoughts and following thoughts. So trust feeling and trust what you feel. That's super important. And, you know, don't place yourself in the box of what society says you have to do, of what society says is acceptable, of what, you know, you might have been told is acceptable by your parents, or what success only is underneath what your parents are saying, you know, because they were brought up differently, and they were brought up certain ways, and they were told and conditioned to believe certain things as well. But as you get older, you realize that a lot of this stuff is not true, and it won't ring true to you, because your idea of what success is and what your idea of what truly matters in life is going to come from when you know who you truly are. And that's one thing that, you know, dismantled in my life, of all these beliefs, and they were all limiting beliefs of what success was, limiting beliefs of what happiness was. And I discovered I had to go through certain things in my journey from when I was very young as a kid all the way, you know, up until now. I went through so many different things that always were showing me the way. And ultimately, to get to this point in my life where I have realized that so much of what I was told to believe about success and about happiness was a lie, but it was based upon someone else's conditioning and someone else's beliefs. And you realize, like I said, as you get older, and you can even reflect back, that but everything was happening as it should, and everything was teaching you, and it was all for you to discover your own truth, the truth of what is and how it makes you feel. And you can go outside of that box. You can go outside of that comfort zone and that, you know, those conditioned beliefs. You don't have to hold on to them. You get to decide. Society or anyone else doesn't have to tell you what success is. Society doesn't have to tell you what beauty is. Society doesn't have to tell you what you should and shouldn't, you know, wear. I feel like we've been so heavily conditioned to believe in things that are supposed to be, this is the way, and this is good, and this is the trend, or this is what's good for you. But only you know what's good for you. Only you know truly what it feels like to feel good for you. No one else can feel it for you. So it's important to recognize where we are taking on society's standards or our parents' standards for us, anyone else's standards, and how our life is supposed to go. understand that you get to decide. And so I thought it was funny that that game of Simon Says came through, because it's so funny and it is so fitting for, you know, our time and like how our life sometimes can go. Is like, whoop, society says don't do this, whoop, your parents say don't do that. And it's so funny because as you get older and you realize like none of that is fitting to your life now, and you aren't going to go based off of what society says. And it feels better in many ways not to. I'm one of those, I don't like to follow trends. I don't like to follow the next, oh, it's the next amazing gadget that came out, I need to get it. I'm not that type of person. That's just never been me. I've never owned an Apple Watch. Yes, I can afford an Apple Watch, but I never wanted one. I've never wanted to have it. And I don't put anybody down that has it or has ever wanted it, but that's just never been me. I've never wanted the next greatest thing. I don't like to upgrade my phone. Why? Because I don't feel like I need to. I feel like if I have a phone and it works, great. I don't need the next best thing. Of course, if it was necessary for my YouTube channel and, you know, it had better features and it was actually going to be a lot better for me, would I think about investing in it? Sure. But I'm not the type of person to just jump on the bandwagon and buy the next and greatest and latest gadgets and things and follow all these trends. There's a lot of trends that have come out that I've never been interested in. And I don't know, sometimes I have those conversations with my husband when we've been out at a store together, and I would tell him, oh, I heard that this was a trend, these weird boots or these weird, you know, shoes or something. I remember talking about it to him at a store, and he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I would never ever wear those. You will never catch me wearing those. And, you know, we laugh, but I don't know, that's just, like I said, it's not something that's ever been me. I like what I like and I follow how it makes me feel, and that's important to me, is following the feeling, because that's always going to tell me yay or nay. And I feel like that's with anything in life, you know? And it goes with like food. If something is going to make you feel bad, why are you going to eat it? And that's something I've had to wrap my head around in understanding the way other people operate, because I know that not everybody operates the same. Not everybody operates the way I do. I don't choose to eat things that make me feel bad. I will not eat things that make me feel bad. If I know that it gives me a certain type of feeling, it's clear as day not to eat it, and I will not eat it. So I feel like we have to trust our feelings. We have to trust what we feel and what we are receiving from whatever we are choosing. Trust that feeling, because again, it's your intuition, it's your guidance. All of this is guidance, and it's important to follow what you feel is good for you. Don't allow anybody else to set the standards for your life. You set the standards for your life, and be so unapologetic about it. You know, dare to be you, the real, authentic you, your truest you. Dare to be bold, dare to be brave, courageous, outspoken. You know, dare to be beautifully you, because there's no one better. I felt like I needed to share this message because, like I said, this came through the whole Simon Says and how it really correlates to our lives. And it was just so funny when that came through. I felt like spirit can be so funny. I feel like most of the time spirit's very humorous, and when they share these things, it's hilarious to me. Sometimes some of these things are so hilarious. I had to share this one with you. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope you got a laugh out of this. Maybe it kind of changed your perspective on your life and just the decisions that you make in your life, and maybe doing something completely different. That is okay. So until next time, my friends, I love you all so much. Take very, very good care. Until next time, I love you. Bye.